Bitter criticism this Saturday. Um, I don't remember what I have to read. Maybe Russia Today, I guess. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you saw that? Wonderful. Oh, just one second. I don't understand this. I'm going to read it. So February 1st, home and former Soviet Union. FSB accuses Ukraine and West of stirring up hatred in ex-USSR. A Ukrainian posing as a Russian blogger has been making derogatory statements about Uzbeks. Moscow's Federal Security Service has said, what is that? Derogatory statements. Maybe is what I do always. Maybe I will be in Russia Today. Bitter criticism. And says, a still from a YouTube video of a Ukrainian man offending the people of.
Para abrir la puerta del tren, presione el botón cuando se ilumine.
A YouTube video of a Ukrainian man offending the people of Uzbekistan while posing as a Russian blogger. Ukrainian intelligence services and their Western handlers are creating fake online content in an attempt to spoil Russia's relations with neighboring countries. Oh, I got it. Oh, this is serious. I guess. The Russian Federal Security Service, FSB, has alleged it's not the no more KGB, but FSB is a nice. Oh, I forgot the name. Acronym. It's a nice acronym because it sounds just like KGB. But now it's the FSB and not the FBI. FSB, yeah. So it's interesting. Nothing is forever, but this acronym is nice. The agency announced in a statement on Saturday that it had identified a Ukrainian national who had offended the people of Uzbekistan while posing as a Russian blogger. The controversial clip had been uploaded to a YouTube channel, quote unquote, controlled by the Lithuanian Special Services. It added, oh, I did something similar, but I said this very channel is controlled by Leon Trotsky. Leon Trotsky in Afterlife, yeah. This is an Afterlife controlled channel. Divine. A video featuring a man who claims to be a Russian citizen made headlines last month for comparing Uzbeks to dogs, sparking outrage among commentators in both Central Asia and Ukraine and Russia. Who knows? Dogs are not so bad as Chileans, those rats. I always say that. I really dislike this country. There's a lot of good indexes about this country. People say there's low poverty rates. People say they're prosperous, but who knows? I guess it's all fake, it's all lie. At the time, Rasul Kusherbayev, an advisor to the Uzbek ecology minister, urged the country's foreign ministry to, quote-unquote, take action in response to the insults. Quote, our cooperation with Russia is based on the principles of equality and mutual respect. Discrimination is unacceptable. In in interstate relations, end quote. Khrushchev told the media outlet Dario. Dario with Y. Dario Y. According to the FSB, the offensive blogger is a citizen and current resident of Ukraine named Nikolai Kochmarik, who has been actively supporting Kiev's military during the conflict with Moscow. There's a photo of myself. That's me in Ukraine. That's me as a Ukrainian. Well, you have to recognize Ukrainian people, they have balls. They are fighting Russia. But I'm supporting Russia, actually. I'm supporting Russia despite all the chaos in the economy. According to the FSB, the offensive blogger is a citizen and current resident of Ukraine named Nikolai Kochmarik.
Por tu seguridad y la de todos los pasajeros, no te sientes en el suelo.
Who has been actively supporting Kiev's military during the conflict with Moscow. And he has a tank, look. So yeah, definitely. So you have to have balls to fight Russia, isn't it? Losing. But why this guy is not in the front line, isn't it? Hey, Nikolai, go to the front line. Nikolai Kochmarik, go to the front line. Quote, this incident is evidence of deliberate actions by the Ukrainian and Lithuanian special services, as well as by their foreign handlers to create provocative content aimed at undermining relations between Russia and its partners in the CIS, end quote, the FSB stressed. With such clips, Kiev and its Western backers are, quote, attempting to form anti-Russian sentiment abroad, end quote, it added. The SIS, Commonwealth of Independent States, is an intergovernmental organization comprised of many former Soviet republics, including Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Moldova, Russia, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. Those are just like I don't remember, but there's another one. There's another one, but I guess this is the SCI. No, I guess that's it. But there's another organization just like the former Soviet Union. I will pick Kazakhstan. I will pick Kazakhstan. And oh, no internet connection.
Atención, para abrir la puerta del tren, presione el botón cuando se ilumine.
Yeah, back on track. I'm going to read all Russia Today, all forbidden news for the free world. I'm going to read this one because it's tricky, but in my opinion, all this child-free ideology, wokeism, is just poverty. Yeah, people don't have money to raise anything. People don't even have money to raise a dog. I'm going to read this. February 1st. Home, Russia and former Soviet Union. Woman fined $500 for promoting quote-unquote child-free lifestyle. A Sevastopol resident has been penalized for social media posts advocating voluntary childlessness, marking the first enforcement of Russia's new law. So there's a law against childlessness. Maybe she's just ugly. It says a 29-year-old woman in Sevastopol has been fined 50,000 rubles, about $500. 50,000 rubles, about $500, for promoting a child-free lifestyle on social media, according to a statement by local police on Friday. It is the first penalty imposed under Russia's recent ban on propaganda of childlessness. According to the authorities, the woman shared misanthropic posts, quote-unquote misanthropic posts on social media, including statements, quote, favoring a carefree life over childbearing, end quote. Despite recent legal changes, she did not remove these posts, prompting a fine under the Russian Code of Administrative Offenses, the police said. In November 2024, Russian lawmakers passed legislation.
El bloqueo de puertas puede provocar retraso. Respeta la alarma de cierre y colabora con un mejor viaje para todos.
It says in November 2024, Russian lawmakers passed legislation banning the promotion of voluntary childlessness, aiming to boost the country's declining birth rates. The law prohibits disseminating information that encourages people not to have children, with fines reaching 400,000 rubles for individuals and up to 5 million rubles for organizations. So this is tricky. So yeah, this autocracy. This is an autocracy. It's not the free world. But the measure follows the government's state intent to promote traditional family values. Russian President Vladimir Putin has emphasized the importance of increasing the birth rate. Quote, if we want to preserve ourselves as an ethnic group or as an ethnic groups inhabiting Russia, there should be at least two children. To expand and develop, we need at least 3 children, he said last year. Yeah. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has labeled a low birth rate in Russia a quote-unquote catastrophe. And Nina Ostanina, a member of parliament for the Communist Party, suggests a quote special demographic operation to address the issue. That will be interesting. That's interesting. What they are going to do? Maybe they should do an orgy with no condoms. Yeah. According to preliminary data from Rosstat, Russia's Federal State Statistics Service, as of January 1st, 2025, the country's population stood at 146 million. There's not a lot. Look, 146,028,325, less than Pakistan, as everybody knows. Yeah. Less than, I don't know, maybe I'm going to check it out, but this is not too much people, reflecting a 0.08% decrease over the past year. These figures exclude data from the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics, Zaporizhia and Kherson regions, the formerly Ukrainian regions that joined Russia in the fall of 2022, the agency said. I don't remember if I read this, but that you have Russian member of parliament vote to ban child-free propaganda. I wonder if propaganda is so strong, because I actually don't watch any propaganda, I guess. There's an ideological article. I guess this is the last one from me. February 1st, 2025, Home Africa. Free trade isn't free. A struggling ex-colony fights back, but the EU won't let go easily. No investments, no balance, broke promises. Algeria is done with the with the quote-unquote partnership trap Brussels has led. And there's a photograph from Algeria, not container ships being loaded at the port of in Oran, Algeria. There's another country, sounds like Algeria, but I don't remember now. In October 2024, shortly after being re-elected for a second term, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune announced plans to revise the 2005 EU-Algeria Association Agreement. He said that this process will be approached, quote, with flexibility and in a friendly spirit without entering into conflict, end quote. Quote, we maintain normal relations with the states of the European Union, including France, he added. Tebboune attributed the decision to alter the terms of the agreement with the EU to the fact that it, quote, was concluded at a time when Algeria was very different from that of today. Indeed, in the early 2000s, Algeria was still recovering from a decade-long civil war between the government and Islamist groups. Now, when Algeria's economy has been strengthened, the conditions of the agreement no longer align with the country's interests. That's true. Algeria is considering joining the BRICS. However, in June 2024, the EU threatened to demand the establishment of an arbitration panel to settle the matter. This is the second dispute related to EU-Algeria Association Agreement since 2020. EU-Algeria Association Agreement. Algeria has a lot of oil, and the EU-Algeria Association Agreement was signed in 2002 in Valencia, Spain, and came into effect in September 2005. It aimed to establish a framework for cooperation between the EU and Algeria across various sectors, while liberalizing trade on both sides. The agreement included provisions for fostering political.
Tranquilo es tarea de todos. No incentives el comercio ambulante, comprando o dando dinero. Juntos construyamos un mejor viaje.
The agreement included provisions for fostering political dialogue and balanced economic and social relations, promoting people-to-people exchanges, especially concerning administrative procedures, and encouraging collaboration in the economic, social, cultural, and financial spheres. A key aspect of the EU-Algeria Association Agreement was the establishment of a free trade area. Algeria was granted a 12 years transitional period to gradually eliminate tariffs on industrial goods and selectively liberalize agricultural trade. In 2017, both sides agreed to extend this period by 3 years. However, some products were excluded from these terms, including steel, textiles, electronic devices, and automobiles. The association agreement falls under the framework of the Barcelona process, initiated by the EU in 1995 to strengthen cooperation with southern Mediterranean countries and ultimately create a so-called, quote, zone of shared prosperity, end quote. Since the late 1990s, the EU has signed 3 similar agreements with North African nations: Tunisia in 1998, Morocco in 2000, and Egypt in 2004. Dispute over the free trade zone.
Atención. Para abrir la puerta del tren, presione el botón cuando se ilumine.
On September 1st, 2020, the transitional period for eliminating tariffs ended, and there was no official announcement about its extension. However, Algeria was slow to implement the free trade condition, and reports surfaced indicating its intention to revise the agreement. Just just weeks before the transitional period ended. In August 2020, President Tabon told his trade minister Kamel Rezin to, quote, carry out an assessment of the dossier of the association agreement with the European Union, taking Algeria's interest into account. Well, I guess this article is far too big, far. Can you see? No way to read all that, but I hope the best for Algeria joining the BRICS. Yeah. This is interesting too. Look. Well, both news. These both news are very interesting. So I'm going to try to read those, and that's it. Just more to February 4th, 2025 home business news. Trump vows to absolutely impose tariffs on EU. Brussels has treated Washington so terribly. The US president has complained. US President Donald Trump has announced his intention to impose tariffs on the European Union, citing unfair treatment in trade practices. This follows the implementation of 25% duties on imports from Mexico and Canada and 10% on Chinese goods, effective February 1st. The European Union has been bracing for possible trade restrictions under the new US administration for months. Trump has threatened several times to impose tariffs on the EU unless specific conditions are met. In December, Trump demanded that Brussels reduce its trade deficit with the US by significantly increasing purchases of American oil and gas. Quote, am I going to impose tariffs on the European Union? You want the truthful answer, or shall I give you a political answer? Absolutely. End quote. Trump told reporters at the White House on Friday. This is the forever anti-politics. Trump anti-politics. Quote, the European Union has treated us so terribly, Trump added. He confirmed plans for something substantial to be applied to the EU, but did not provide specific details regarding the target goods for the exact tariff rates. Who knows, The EU is just a EU puppy. It's just a US vassal. What the hell Trump is saying? This is not the first instance of trade tensions between the US and the EU under Trump's administration. In 2018, during his first term, he imposed a 25% tariff on steel and
Para abrir la puerta del tren, presione el botón cuando se ilumine.
And a 10% duty on aluminium imports from the bloc, as well as Canada and Mexico, citing national security concerns. In response, the EU implemented retaliatory tariffs on American products such as bourbon whiskey and motorcycles. The new tariffs on Mexico and Canada were reportedly justified by the Trump administration as measures to address issues like illegal immigration and the influx of fentanyl into the United States. What the hell is fentanyl? Read more. Trump issues new threat to BRICS. I should read that too. Despite warnings from economists about potential global economic repercussions including increased inflation and disrupted supply chains, Trump has remained steadfast in his approach. On Thursday, Trump also threatened to impose 100% tariffs on BRICS nations if they attempt to undermine the mighty US dollar. Yeah, I know that. By creating an alternative currency. Yeah, do it. Go Dilma Rousseff, go. Members of the economic bloc have accelerated efforts to reduce the reliance on third-party currencies in bilateral trade in recent years, especially after Western sanctions led to freezing of Russia's reserves held in dollars and euros following the escalation of the Ukraine conflict in 2022. And now I'm going to read the other one. I guess this is going to be huge, but I just have 5 minutes. Yeah, this is not so huge, but I'm going to run now. India refuses to be America's attack dog against China. While Washington pushes for anti-China alliances, New Delhi treads cautiously, knowing its neighbor is here to stay. This is written by Alexei Kupriyanov, head of Center of Indo-Pacific of the Indo-Pacific Region Institute of World Economy and International Relations of the Russian Academy of Sciences, IMEMO. It's funny because Indo-Pacific, everybody complain about that. They said it's not Indo-Pacific but South Asia. Well, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at BRICS Summit in Kazan, Russia on October 2024. The Galwan is one of the many Himalayan rivers, a narrow mountain stream in some places almost a brook, in others a turbulent, setting mass of icy water foaming on the rocks. The river, which few people knew about except geographers, diplomats, and military personnel, staff officers in Delhi and Srinagar, and ordinary soldiers who regularly patrol the disputed territory of the line of actual control between India and China, suddenly became the talk of the town in June 2020. Then, literally a couple of months after the announcement of a strict nationwide quarantine in India and China because of the COVID-19 pandemic, another uncommon skirmish between patrols took place on its banks. Indian and Chinese soldiers patrol without live ammunition in accordance with a 1996 agreement, and such episodes usually end with a dozen bruises and bumps and a few broken bones. But not this time. As far as we know, one of the newly appointed Chinese commanders responsible for this area decided to demonstrate to the Indians and his superiors his uncompromising nature, initiative, and tactical talents. The Indian military was not going to back down. Just recently, Chief of Defense Staff Bipin Rawat said that it was necessary to review the priorities and structure of military spending, threatening to freeze the program to build a third aircraft carrier for the Navy and the contract to buy 110 fighters from Israel. The Army had an opportunity to clearly demonstrate that its spending should not be cut. The outcome of the clash in the Galwan Valley shocked India. 20 people were killed, and either side uses firearms. The injuries sustained from falling off a cliff at night. The last flow of icy river and the lack of medical care were enough. The Chinese reported 4 of their own killed, while Indian media later accused the Chinese of concealing losses and wrote about 40 dead PLA soldiers. In one way or another, Indian society, already frustrated by the strict lockdown and frightened by reports from COVID-19 hospitals, demanding a tough response from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government, and the Indian authorities were forced to meet voters halfway. Everything that Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping had managed to achieve in bilateral relations over the preceding 2 years went down the drain. Modi has visited China in April 2018 unexpectedly for most Indians and outside observers. At the time, relations between Delhi and Beijing were far from ideal. The Indians were frightened by the growing Chinese presence in Southeast Asia and the Indian Ocean region, where in 2016 the Chinese began building a naval base in Djibouti. Indians were irritated by the support that China was providing to their longtime adversary Pakistan. In addition, less than a year had passed since the standoff of the Doklam Plateau, where the Indian Army came to the aid of the Bhutanese military, preventing the Chinese from unilaterally adjusting the borderline in their favor. Therefore, both the fact of the visit and its outcome came as a surprise. The negotiations took place in an extremely friendly atmosphere, and the concept of the quote-unquote Wuhan spirit formally entered into common usage, by analogy with the term Shanghai spirit, used to describe an atmosphere of mutual trust, understanding, and readiness for cooperation. Guys, I'm super late. I hope it's all in one video, because the memory card is cutting these videos in 30 something, 33.